thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be product demoing some Conde garden stakes and yard stakes. And it's these fun little things here. They are actually not as small as I thought they were. The garden stake one is, let's see, they're about 7 inches tall, and the actual little surface area is about 2 inches tall and about 3 inches wide, or about 3 1/4. And then the yard stake is actually fairly large. Let's see, about 7 3/4, and about 4 inches, and then are about 10 inches long. So they're a decent size, especially if you're going to be using these for gardening, you know, whatever purpose you can use them for. So just to help you out, as I mentioned before, these are from Conde. So the large rectangle one is actually product number U4774, and the small rectangle one is product number U4767. And so these little ones actually come in different shapes. So they have like square, rectangle, Berlin, and stuff like that. I think there's 6 of them in total. And then for the yard stake signs, I believe there are, let me see my notes. They have about 4 of them. And they have one that's even larger than this one. And let's see. And they do come in different shapes as well. So that's that. Let's see, what could I say about these? So what I do like so far in getting these is that they are nice and thick. They're not flimsy at all compared to, let me see if I have something, because I've worked with a lot of aluminum. So here's a Sublimation license plate that I grabbed from the local store here. And these are just really flimsy. They just bend too easily, and I don't know if these have any kind of longevity as far as, I mean, they probably do because they're aluminum, but as far as like these go, the thickness is unmatched. So basically, if you're presenting these to your customers, you're going to be presenting them something with great quality, and that's, you know, how I compare these two as far as the quality goes. Let's see, so let's get started. So what you're going to need is obviously your garden stakes or yard sign, heat glove, your heat tape, then your transfers, and of course you're going to need your butcher paper or whatever paper you use. Make sure it's it's unwaxed. But so whatever you use, that's fine. I get mine from Sam's Club, excuse the mess, but I get this big roll for 20 bucks. So if you do have a Sam's Club in your area, definitely take advantage. But I do know that that's the paper I use, and I haven't needed to purchase. I used to buy mine from Amazon. It was the thick, unwaxed butcher paper. However, the price compared to that and the size, unmatched. Okay, so let's get started. First, we're going to talk about the transfers. So making templates for these are fairly easy. You can totally see that all I did was a large rectangle area and then just a long rectangle to cover the length of the stick. And same thing with the small one. Fairly easy. So what I did in Photoshop was I made sure I measured my area first. And you don't have to make the exact shape, get the corners or anything like that. It's fairly easy creating your own template. So all I did was, let's do centimeters, get like a closer reading. So here we have, let's see if I kind of shift this over a little and give about 2 centimeters on each side. So technically my design will have to go about 20 centimeters. So same thing with the length. I kind of like make the square first, and then I'll measure out how long I need the length of the stake here. So if that makes sense. If it doesn't, please comment that you don't have an idea what I'm talking about, but I'll go ahead and explain it, or you can PM me. All right, so the same thing. So what I did was I went ahead, and if I measured this, it should come out to, well, I did the 21. Did I? Actually, I made this a little larger, but that's fine. I just made sure that the part that I know that is going to get printed on is actually going to fit within those 20. So it'll be about, let's see, about here. If that makes any sense. And the same thing with the length of the thing. So if I go ahead and line this up as such, then I know at least I have, now you don't want to do like a big block. Let's just say you have a solid area like this. You could do a big large square if you don't want to mess with this piece. However, you can save yourself some ink by doing it this way, especially since you don't want to waste ink. And so, same thing. And it just kind of fits on there. I may not have made this, I made this a little too perfect, but we will see when we go press this. All right, so we're going to go first with our yardstake. Now, I don't believe these have any plastic film on it. I tried messing with it to see. And so I'm just gonna kind of put that right there real quick to see if there is a plastic film, it'll kind of, the heat will loosen it up. Don't close it. One thing, if you do this for any other kind of substrate, do not, especially the aluminum stuff, do not leave it in your heat press. I did that once by accident where, okay, it doesn't look like there's a film over this. No, it's good. Okay. One time I did that with this dog tag. I didn't know if there was a little plastic film, left it there, walked away, forgot about it, came back, and this thing was just this lovely shade of burnt. And I totally was just not happy. Luckily I had some extras, and that's another thing, another tip for y'all. Always, always, always have extras, and always, if you have an order, account for ordering more and accounting that you may have duds or you may mess up. That's a big tip. So this one here has taught me a lot, but definitely. Okay, so let's see. Let's go ahead and line this up. I'm just going to lay this down. All right, now I'm going to use my heat tape. Now what I like to do with my heat tape, I like to just kind of make little tabs, so when I go peel it off, I'm not having a fight with it. And this has reduced the way I reduced any ghosting and stuff like that. All right. And let's do the other side. Now, if you notice, I didn't use any kind of pro spray or, I'll show you. So I have the Dye Trans Pro Spray. You could use this. To me personally, I don't like using it for any of these kinds of substrates, only because it leaves a little funky residue. And if I'm trying to pump out more than one, and I don't have time to sit there and clean each and every one of them from any possible residue, that's definitely, I mean, if you have a system down packed where you know what you're doing with it, go for it. I mean, but in this case, for what I'm doing, I just don't. Not saying you don't need to, but if it's what you're most comfortable with, then yes. But in this case, I'm just going to use the using the transfer tape. All right. So notice that I laid a protective sheet down. That's because I don't want any transference going onto my mat and then possibly messing up everything else. Now these garden stakes are not double-sided. You only sublimate on the white side of it. And the other thing too is, what was the other thing I was going to mention? Well, we'll figure it out. So I'm going to lay another one on top because this has some kind of sheet underneath, like a Teflon, and it picks up ink, and Lord knows how many times I've messed up items. Now these Unisub garden stakes, the recommended time and temp for these are 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 minute and 30 seconds, which is 90 seconds at medium pressure. Now the smaller ones take a little bit less time to reduce, about like 10 seconds or so. So it's between, let's see, 80 to 90 seconds, whereas the larger stakes are about 70 to 90 seconds. I've done some of these in the past, not these per se. Let me backtrack. I've done some aluminum items in the past, and I'll show you an example. So all of these time and temp with aluminum is definitely a huge variable. It's going to be different all around. Every person that you buy from usually has their recommended time and temp, but it will all depend on your press, paper, ink, you know, your whole setup, as far as understanding what the sweet spot is for your time and temp. For example, I have these aluminum ornaments. When I first started them, the first one I had was just not perfect. This one I ended up getting some ghosting, and actually with using the Pro Spray, it did not actually, it still has a sticky residue. Then again, I didn't clean it off. But if you can see, their time and temp recommendation was 325 for 75 seconds. That did not work for me. What I ended up doing was, I knew it was going to be around 70 seconds or so because of the size, but I ended up having to boost up the heat. Now, if your prints pressed look cloudy, then it just means that your, let's say that you just need to go ahead and press it for a longer time. If you get a dull haze, like it just kind of looks hazy, like you need to clean it off, but it's kind of weird. It's because either your temp is too high or you need to reduce the time. I mean, it's just kind of a balance there. But that's, you know, a tip to kind of give you if you're trying to figure out what your cooking time should be. So in this case, this one was just kind of cloudy. It needed more time on it, or increase the temp. So as you can see, based off the little girl's head, you could see that she had a white spot, and it kept getting lighter and lighter until finally it was done. But obviously the one next to it was the one that came out perfect. So for these, I ended up having to do 365 at 75 seconds. And that's going off of 325, 75 seconds, and just increasing the time as you go along. Granted, this is not ideal for what you want, wasting a lot of product, definitely, but it's one of those things to keep in mind when you're actually pressing items and stuff like that. Let's see, and then if I was to, usually to clean off the residue, you could use some type of like baby oil. It will clean that off. There was something else that was recommended. I can't remember. I don't know if it was Goo Off or I'm not sure, but I will get back to you guys on what is best to clean off any residue. But I believe anything that's kind of like a oil type substance like baby oil would work. Okay, so now that we've covered a couple of things, let's go ahead and press this. Like I said, we're going 400 for 90 seconds and at medium pressure. So as you can see, my time dropped a little. Is it going? Okay, here we go. So it looks like I may have lost about 5 seconds from my time. All right, so in the meantime, I'm going to have my trusty heat glove here ready because it will be hot. And so then I'm going to go ahead and line up my next item here. Okay, that's and then this one I may have made a little too precise, so we may end up getting some white on it. But still, once again, go ahead and take your heat tape. Now, you could, I'm going to fold in here. Now you could go ahead, if you ever do a small print like this, by all means, I would recommend go ahead and printing something else, because this is a lot of paper for just one little item to go ahead and lose. But in this case, you can see I already tried pressing something else. I was testing some other stuff. Now, if you ever do cut your transfer down because it's too large, do not cut it precisely because you want an area for your tape to go. Because you never want to put a piece of tape and do this and then use your nail or whatever to do that, because most of the time, sometimes it'll actually get, while it's laying down and you're pressing, if that tape happens to get underneath it'll appear in your print and you'll have like a little white missing gap. You're gonna be like, no. So definitely that's one thing I've learned in my past. All right, so let's see if 400 for 90 seconds worked. I think that looks good. I think we're good to go. All right, so let me see, make sure that you guys can see this. Okay, so remember how I was saying about the tabs? So at least from here, I can just grab it and pull it off. Oh, that looks so pretty. Look at that. Now remember, this is extremely hot, but I'll go ahead and show you. Whoops, put that a little too high. And what's cool about these Unisub stakes is the fact that they are glossy and they're also UV coated. So they do have longevity to be outside, which is phenomenal, especially if you're going to put this in your garden. You wouldn't want this to go ahead and fade out so quickly. And I believe that, you know, the longevity of it with the coating should last you, a few years. I mean, look at that. The colors look amazing. And like I said, so this is extremely hot, but I'm going to go ahead and put this off to the side. Let me take the tape off of this. Mind you, I'm kind of using my nails to go ahead and keep it off my skin. All right, so now that we have one down, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask while I go ahead and work out the other one. If you've ever used these garden stakes before, let me know what you've used them for. What kind of designs have you done them with? I know one example here is for gardening, to go ahead and like name what vegetables and stuff like that, especially when you have little seedlings. You have no idea what is growing what, especially if you got a good garden going, or a large one I meant. But let's see. I'm hoping this one came out good. Trying to look right now to make sure that it's lined up. I made this one a little too precise. Should have gone a little larger, but we'll be fine. Okay. So once again, I just make sure you don't cut precisely, because you, like I was telling you before, you want to go ahead and make sure you have some space for your tape so that you can kind of lift and make sure to see if you need more time. And do not do this, because if you can look let's see if you can see that the tape kind of goes underneath, and that's going to block any kind of transference of ink. So I just kind of lay it flat like that. So if you have encountered that before, that's because just the tape getting underneath and messing up your beautiful work. All right, once again, I just pull the tab down. Alrighty, so this one we're probably going to reduce the time on it. And actually, hold on, I messed up. I don't ever like using the same paper because I don't know if there's any ink there. Even though it's not going to transfer, I don't risk it. I've experienced too many times of ink transfer, too many times to go ahead and want to risk anything. So I've got a new paper, put a sheet on top, come on in. Let's go ahead and reduce this by 10 seconds. We'll do 80. Hopefully that's good. Medium pressure and start. Boom. All right, so the question is, does Pro Spray leave residue on fabric also? If so, how do you get rid of it? Pro Spray or any kind of spray, let's see. So this one was this is from Walmart. It's the repositionable spray. And then of course I have the one from Conde, Dye-Trans Pro Spray. These both work about the same. I would notice that the Pro Spray is a little bit better when it comes to it spraying out. But if you can't get this for whatever reason and you need to get some locally or you need to pick some up, this one was purchased at Walmart. But still, if you're ordering a big order from Conde, definitely go ahead and pick some of this up. I've been using it for a while now and I plan on buying some more in my opinion, but I've seen lots who use either the Loctite brand, Crafter's Bond brand. There's different ones, but there, you know, whatever works for you or whatever you're most comfortable with as far as product wise, definitely go for it. Now, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this out and let me take a look, take a peek. I don't want to move this too much. Okay, it looks like 80 seconds worked. Alrighty. Cool beans. Look at that. The mango one looks so cute. So, let's see. But yeah, and so these are, like I mentioned before, this is the yardstick. They have different sizes. Let's see. So what are some things that you can do with these? So for like the smaller ones, you can use these for, you know, personalizing each item that you have in a garden. You can use it for memorials. Let's see, pathway signs from what I've gathered. I'm thinking like, I guess in a wedding and you want to direct your guest, you could probably use these. Let's see. What else? I was thinking too, like, what if you have a plant that needs specific directions or whatever, and you don't want somebody to lose it or whatever. I figured you could just kind of put watering directions. I mean, it works. I thought it was a silly idea, but you know, I'm pretty sure it'd be an idea that would take off. And then as far as like the yardstick signs, these would be awesome for photo memorials, house markers. You can use it for like sports, graduation. Let's see, putting up any kind of message on there really. But definitely these are awesome to go ahead and give. I was also thinking too that if you did like a bouquet, for instance, or one of those edible arrangement kind of looking things, you can go ahead and stick that in there, and now it's like basically like a keepsake. If you have a pet for a memorial or a loved one that you want to leave there in their memory, you could do that as well. Let's see, figured maybe baby announcements, maybe inspirational quotes to put around in your garden. But you know, it's got some versatility. But I hope you guys enjoy this product demo. As you see, this is actually my first time doing these, and they came out awesome. But anyways, thanks for everyone joining, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.